When my daughter-in-law told me to leave, I smiled instead of crying. I still remember the way her voice sounded that afternoon. Soft, polite, almost kind. The kind of voice people use when they do not want to look cruel. She stood near the window, light falling on her face, her hands folded in front of her like she was asking for something small. "I think it would be better," she said, "if you found another place to stay." I nodded. I even smiled. I did not ask why. I did not argue. I did not remind her that this house was once mine. I did not say that I had nowhere else to go. I just stood there, holding a cup of tea that had gone cold in my hands. My son was in the next room. He could hear us. He did not come. That was the moment I understood that love can change shape, that a mother can become a guest, that a home can quietly stop belonging to you even while you are still living inside it. I had raised my son in that very house. I had painted those walls when he was a child. I had measured his height against the doorframe. I had watched him run through those rooms with scraped knees and loud laughter. Every corner held a memory of him. And now I was being asked to leave. Not with anger, not with shouting, just a gentle sentence. "I think it would be better." People think betrayal is loud. They imagine slammed doors and raised voices. But sometimes, betrayal is quiet. It sits beside you at the table. It speaks in a calm tone. It asks you to move, slowly, out of your own life. I am not telling the story to blame anyone. I am telling it because there are many mothers like me. Women who gave their best years to raising a child, only to feel like a shadow once that child grows up and builds a new life. My name is Mira. I am 68 years old, and this is the story of how I became a burden in my own home. I raised my son alone. His father passed away when he was only 6. One morning he left for work. By evening, he never came back. A sudden illness, a short call from the hospital, a long silence after that. I remember standing in the kitchen that night, staring at a pot of rice that had burned at the bottom. I remember thinking, how will I do this alone? But when you have a child, you do not get the luxury of fear. My son, Arjun, was small then. He had wide eyes and soft hair that never stayed in place. He used to hold my hand tightly when we crossed the road as if the world might take me away too. I became everything for him. Mother, father, teacher, guard. I worked long hours. I saved every coin. I stitched clothes at night after he slept. Some days my back ached so badly that I had to lie on the floor just to breathe. But I never told him. I never wanted him to feel that he was a weight on me. Instead, I told him, "You are my strength." And I meant it. We grew together. We learned together. When he brought home his first school prize, I cried. When he failed a test, I sat beside him and said, "We will try again." The house was small, but it was warm. We did not have much, but we had each other. As he grew older, he became more independent. He started spending more time with friends. His world expanded. Mine stayed mostly the same. I was just happy watching him become someone. Then one day he came home and said, "Ma, I met someone." He said it shyly, like a boy again. Her name was Ria. He showed me her picture on his phone. She had bright eyes and a confident smile. She looked modern, strong, full of life. He said, "I think I love her." I smiled and said, "Then I must love her too." And I meant that as well. When he told me he wanted to marry her, I did not resist. Some mothers do. They feel afraid of losing their place. But I told myself that love is not a small thing. It grows when you share it. I met Ria the first time in a small cafe. She was polite. She greeted me with respect. She asked me about my health. She said she admired single mothers. I felt proud. I thought, my son has chosen well. After the wedding, they moved into my house. It will be good, Arjun said. We will live together. I cleaned every corner before they arrived. I changed the curtains. I placed fresh flowers on the table. I wanted her to feel welcome. I wanted her to feel that this was her home too. The first few weeks were gentle. Ria would ask, Ma, how do you make the soup? I would show her. She would smile and say, it smells nice. We ate together in the evenings. We talked about small things. I tried to give them space. I stayed in my room when they wanted privacy. I reminded myself that this was their new beginning. But slowly, very slowly, things began to shift. It started with small silences. If I entered the living room, conversations would stop. Not suddenly, just softly, like a radio being turned down. If I offered help in the kitchen, Ria would say, it's okay, Ma, I can manage. At first, I thought she was being kind. Then I noticed she stopped asking me anything. She arranged the house in new ways. She moved my old photo frames into drawers. She replaced the curtains I had chosen. She bought new furniture without asking. I told myself, this is her home now. Let her shape it. One evening, I heard her whispering to Arjun in their room. I feel like I can't breathe here, she said. I stood outside the door, holding a folded towel. My feet would not move. This house feels crowded, she added. Arjun replied softly, she is my mother. There was a pause. I know, Ria said, but we are married now. We need our own space. I walked back to my room quietly. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. I did not feel angry. I felt small. I remembered the nights I had stayed awake when Arjun had fever, the days I had skipped meals so he could eat well, the years I had given without counting. And now, my presence felt like noise. I began to make myself invisible. I woke up earlier than everyone else. I cleaned quietly. I ate after they had finished. I stayed in my room most of the day. Sometimes I would hear them laughing in the living room. I would smile to myself, even though my chest felt tight. I did not want to disturb their happiness. I thought if I became lighter, easier, softer, I would not be a problem. But love does not work that way. The more I shrank, the more I disappeared. Ria started making small comments. The house feels old. We should modernize everything. We need more privacy. Arjun nodded. He listened. He did not argue. He did not look at me when these words were spoken. One afternoon, Ria came to my room. She stood near the door, not sitting. Ma, she said, have you ever thought about staying with your sister for a while? I blinked. My sister lives far away, I replied. Yes, she said, but it might be good for you. A change, new environment. I smiled politely. We will see, I said. She nodded and left. I sat on my bed for a long time after that. I did not tell Arjun. I did not want to put him between us. Mothers are taught to be bridges, not walls. But every bridge has a breaking point. I just didn't know mine was so close. After that day, something inside me began to fold inward. It was not anger. It was not jealousy. It was a quiet understanding that my place in this home was changing. Every morning, I woke up before the sun. I moved through the house like a shadow. I washed my cup and kept it in my room. I stopped sitting in the living room. I stopped turning on the television. I stopped making noise. I told myself, this is love. This is what mothers do. We step back so our children can move forward. But stepping back slowly turned into disappearing. Ria began to treat the house like a project. New shelves, new rules, new ways of doing things. She would rearrange the kitchen cabinets and then sigh when I reached for something in the wrong place. Ma, I keep things in order now, she said gently. Please remember. I nodded every time. Sometimes I forgot. Old habits live deep in the hands. I would reach for a spoon where it had always been. I would place shoes in the old corner near the door. Each mistake was small, but each one felt like proof that I no longer fit. One evening, while I was making tea, Ria walked in and stopped. "Oh," she said, "I was about to use the stove." "I will be done in 1 minute," I replied. She smiled, but her eyes did not. "I just feel like the kitchen is always busy. It makes me anxious." I stepped aside and turned off the flame. "You go ahead," I said. She thanked me. I went back to my room with a cup of cold water instead. Arjun noticed none of this. Or maybe he did, but silence is easier than choosing. He left early for work. He came back late. When he was home, he stayed mostly in their room. On weekends, they went out together. Sometimes he would say, "Ma, we're going to a movie." I would smile and say, "Enjoy." They stopped inviting me. The house became divided without walls. Their life, my corner. One night, I fell in the bathroom. It was not a big fall, just a slip, but my knee hurt badly. I sat on the floor for a few minutes, breathing slowly, waiting for the pain to settle. Ria was in the bedroom. Arjun was beside her. I did not call them. I did not want to be trouble. I wrapped my knee myself. I limped back to my room. I slept with pain. In the morning, Arjun noticed my walk. "Ma, what happened?" he asked. "I slipped," I said. "Why didn't you call me?" he asked. I smiled. "You were tired." He looked at me for a moment, then his phone buzzed. He checked it. "Be careful next time," he said. And that was all. Ria watched from the doorway. Later that day, I overheard her say, "What if something serious happens when we are not home?" Arjun replied, "She is strong." "She is old," Ria said quietly. Old. The word hung in the air like dust. I realized then that to her, I was not a person with a story. I was a problem waiting to happen. From that day, I became more careful. I moved slower. I spoke less. I asked for nothing. I even stopped cooking my own food. I ate what they ate when they ate. If they skipped dinner, I skipped. Sometimes, late at night, hunger would wake me. I would sit on my bed and drink water, pretending it was enough. I thought, if I become easy, I will be allowed to stay. But the truth is, when people start seeing you as weight, nothing you do feels light enough. Ria began speaking more openly. "This house is small for 3 adults. We need privacy as a couple. Other people our age live alone." She never raised her voice. She never insulted me. She spoke like someone stating simple facts. And facts are hard to fight. One afternoon, I tried to help her fold clothes. She paused and said, "Ma, I can do it faster my way." I nodded and stepped back. She added, "You should rest more." Rest. Another soft word. But rest soon began to sound like removal. I felt like furniture that someone didn't know where to place. I loved my son too much to complain. Every night I prayed for peace in their marriage. I prayed for Ria's happiness. I prayed for my heart to grow smaller. Yet inside, a quiet voice whispered, "Where do you belong now?" I remembered my younger days, the woman I used to be, strong, capable, needed. Now even my presence felt like noise. One evening, Arjun came home with papers in his hand. He said, "We're thinking of renovating." I replied, "That is good." He continued, "We might need some changes. Maybe remove this wall, make the rooms bigger." "For comfort," Ria added. I smiled. "Whatever makes you both happy." Ria glanced at Arjun. There is also another idea, she said carefully. He hesitated. We were thinking maybe you could stay with your sister for some time, just while we fix things. I looked at my son. He did not meet my eyes. How long? I asked. Just a few months, he said. I nodded. Of course, I said. Inside, something cracked. Not loudly, just like a cup that has been used too long. That night, I packed a small bag. I touched every corner of my room, the bed where I had read to my son, the cupboard that still smelled like old incense, the window that caught morning light. I did not cry. I told myself this was temporary, but in my heart I knew temporary things do not feel like endings, and endings do not always come with goodbyes. My sister's house was smaller than mine. It had only 2 rooms and a narrow balcony that looked over a busy street. The sound of traffic never stopped. Even at night, horns and engines filled the air. But she welcomed me with open arms. Stay as long as you need, she said. This is your home too. I smiled and thanked her. But something inside me already knew that I was not just visiting. The first week passed quietly. I helped her cook, I folded clothes, I sat near the window and watched strangers walk by. I tried to feel normal. Arjun called once in the first 3 days. Are you settled? He asked. Yes, I replied. That's good, he said. We're starting the work next week. I waited for him to say more. He did not. Ria did not call at all. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. No one spoke about my return. When I asked Arjun gently, "When do you think I should come back?" he replied, "Let things finish properly. No rush." No rush. But life does not pause for anyone. I began to feel like a suitcase placed in a corner, not opened, not needed, just waiting. One afternoon, I decided to visit my house. I had not told them. I had just wanted to see the place where my life had lived. When I reached, the door looked different. New paint, new handle. I rang the bell. Ria opened the door. Her smile froze for a second before returning. Ma? You didn't tell us you were coming. I was in the area, I said softly. She stepped aside. The house felt unfamiliar. My photo frames were gone, the sofa was changed, the walls were bare, my old chair near the window was missing. I felt like a guest in a stranger's home. Arjun came out of the bedroom. Ma? He said, surprised. I just came to see, I replied. Ria offered me water. We sat at the dining table. The silence was thick. I looked at my son. When do you think I should come back? I asked again. He hesitated. Ria placed her hand on the table. Ma, she said calmly, we have been thinking. I waited. She continued, you're not comfortable here anymore, and we're not comfortable either. My heart slowed. You have your sister, she added. You're settled there now. I looked at Arjun. He stared at the floor. I am still your mother, I whispered. Ria's voice remained gentle. Yes, and we respect that. But you depend on us for everything. It is heavy for us. Heavy. She looked at me directly. You are a burden now. The words did not echo. They did not explode. They simply landed, like dust settling on something already broken. I waited for my son to speak. I waited for him to say, no. He did not. His silence was louder than her words. I nodded slowly. I understand, I said. I stood up. Ria looked relieved. Arjun finally spoke. Ma, we will help you financially. I smiled. I did not raise you for money, I replied. I walked to the door. Before leaving, I turned once. This was my home. I never thought I would feel like a visitor here. Ria lowered her eyes. Arjun said nothing. I stepped out. The door closed behind me. Not loudly, just softly, like everything else. Outside, the air felt heavy. I walked without direction. I did not cry. Not yet. Because sometimes pain is so deep that tears do not come. They wait. They grow. They change shape. That night, I lay on my sister's bed, staring at the ceiling. I replayed that sentence again and again. You are a burden now. I thought of all the years I had carried my son. I thought of the nights I had held him when he cried. I thought of every sacrifice. And I wondered how love becomes weight. I did not feel anger. I felt empty, like a room after all the furniture is gone. I realized something quietly. My role in their story had ended, and now I had to write my own. The morning after that visit, I woke up with a strange calm. It felt wrong at first. I expected heaviness. I expected tears. But instead, there was a quiet stillness inside me, like a lake after a storm has passed. My sister was already awake. She was making tea in the kitchen. The smell of ginger filled the air. "You came back late yesterday," she said gently. I nodded. "I went to see them." She did not ask what happened. She did not need to. She only placed a warm cup in my hands and sat beside me. "You can stay here as long as you need," she said again. This time, I believed her. Days passed. I stopped waiting for my phone to ring. At first, my hands still moved towards it every morning. A habit built over years does not leave easily. But slowly, I learned to let the phone remain silent. I began helping my sister more, not because I felt useless, but because I wanted to feel present. We went to the market together, we walked slowly, we talked about small things. Sometimes I caught myself smiling without reason. It surprised me. One evening, I stood on the balcony and watched the street below. People hurried home, children ran, a woman argued with a shopkeeper. Life continued without knowing my story. For the first time, I felt like I was part of the world again, not just a background figure in someone else's life. I started attending a small prayer group in the neighborhood. The women there did not know my past. They did not see me as a burden. They saw me as a person. One of them said, "You have kind eyes." I had not heard that in a long time. Another said, "You speak softly. It is comforting." These were small words, but they reminded me that I still existed. Weeks later, Arjun sent a message. "Are you okay?" I stared at the screen. I typed, "Yes." Then I deleted it. I typed again. "I am learning." I sent it. He replied after a long time, "We worry about you." I did not answer, not because I was angry, but because I realized something important. Worry after removal feels empty. Care that comes only after loss is quiet. I began to understand that love cannot be forced, that staying where you are unwanted slowly erases you. I did not want to vanish, so I chose to stay away, not in bitterness, but in dignity. I started teaching a few neighborhood children in the evenings, simple reading, simple writing. Their laughter filled the small room. One boy said, "Auntie, you explain like my grandmother." I smiled. I was becoming useful again, not to prove my worth, but to feel alive. Months passed. I grew lighter, not because I was less, but because I carried less pain. Then one afternoon, my phone rang. It was Arjun. His voice sounded tired. "Ma," he said, "Ria is pregnant." I closed my eyes. That is good news, I replied. Yes, he said. We thought you should know. I waited. He hesitated. She has been unwell, very weak. I listened. There is a lot to manage. Doctor visits, house, work. I remained silent. Ma, he said softly, we might need your help. The world paused. In that moment, I understood something clearly. I was being remembered not as a mother, but as support, as function, as someone useful again, not as Mira, as help. I breathed slowly. I am happy for you, but I cannot return. He was quiet. Why? I chose my words carefully. Because I am no longer strong enough to be unwanted. He did not respond. I continued. I will always love you, but I cannot live where I am a burden. There was a long silence. Then he whispered, I did not know you felt that way. I smiled sadly. You did. You just did not stop it. We ended the call gently. I cried that night, not from pain, but from release. I had finally spoken, not loudly, not with anger, but with truth. And truth is the softest form of strength. After that call, many days passed in silence. I did not hear from Arjun again for a long time. I did not chase him. I did not wait by the phone. I let life move at its own pace. I continued teaching the children in the evenings. I watered the plants on the balcony. I walked with my sister in the mornings. I began reading again, slowly, one page at a time. My life became small, but it became mine. One evening, while folding clothes, my sister said, You seem lighter these days. I smiled. I am learning how to breathe again. She nodded, as if she understood something deeper than words. Then, one rainy afternoon, the doorbell rang. I was sitting near the window watching water drip from the roof across the street. The sky was gray. The world felt quiet. My sister opened the door. I heard a familiar voice. Is Ma here? My heart moved before my feet. I stood slowly. Arjun was standing in the doorway. He looked older, tired, smaller. Rain had dampened his hair. His eyes searched the room like a child who had lost something precious and did not know where to look. When he saw me, his shoulders dropped. Ma, he said. I did not rush toward him. I did not step back either. I just stood there. He walked inside. My sister gave us space and quietly went into the kitchen. Arjun held his hands together, just like he did when he was nervous as a boy. I came to see you, he said. I nodded. We sat across from each other. The rain filled the silence between us. I was wrong, he said softly. I did not interrupt. I thought staying quiet would keep peace, he continued. But I see now that I was choosing comfort over you. His voice broke. I did not protect you. I watched his face. This was not an apology built from guilt. It was one built from understanding. Ria did not come with him, and for that I was grateful. Ma, he said, I never meant for you to feel like a burden. I replied gently, but that is what I became. He lowered his head. I didn't know how to balance both sides, he whispered. I leaned forward slightly. Love is not balance. It is care, and care must be active. Silence is also a choice, Arjun. He nodded slowly. I know now, he said. He looked at me. Will you ever forgive me? I closed my eyes for a moment. Forgiveness is not a door that opens suddenly. It is a window. It opens slowly. It lets in light. I already have, I said. He looked up. Because carrying anger would make me smaller, and I have spent too long becoming small. Tears filled his eyes. I don't expect you to come back. I want you in my life again. I reached across the table and placed my hand over his. I never left your life, I said. I only stepped out of the place where I was not seen. We sat quietly. Outside, the rain softened. Before leaving, he stood and said, Ria is learning too. She doesn't understand everything yet, but she is trying. I nodded. I wish her peace, I replied. Not closeness, not return, just peace. After he left, I felt a gentle ache in my chest. Not pain, not sorrow, but just the understanding that love sometimes changes shape. A mother's heart stretches, but it must not tear. I did not return to that house, and that is okay. I meet my son now in parks, in cafes, in open spaces, where I am not hidden, where I am not moved aside, where I am simply his mother again. Not a burden, just Mira. And this is what I learned. Love should never require you to disappear. Care should never feel heavy. And being needed is not the same as being valued. Sometimes, the bravest thing a mother can do is step away, not in anger, not in pride, but in quiet respect for herself. Because even a mother deserves a place where she is not merely tolerated, but truly seen.